I can't move. This could be it for me. I'm already.
Are you giving up? Are you really my son?
You're the fourth Hokage.
You've grown up, Naruto.
Naruto, my name. But how?
How? I'm the one who named you. You're my son, after all.
Your son? Then you're...
Yep, that's right.
my dad. My dad. Why?
Naruto!
Why? Why? Why would you ever put Nine Tails inside your own son? How could you put me through all of that? The Akatsuki are after me! I fought with them, and then I was so lonely. But I kept it inside.
Forgive me. To leave you alone all that time must have been terrible. I suppose it's little consolation for me to wear a fatherly face and apologize after putting you through all that.
Dad.
But I'm relieved.
You relieved?
You're bearing everyone's will. And you've grown up with a good head on your shoulders, just as I'd hoped for.
Everyone's will?
Yes. Just looking at you now, I can tell. You have the will of Jiraiya-sensei, Kakashi, the third Hokage, and all the people of the village inside of you. You're carrying it well, and you're moving forward.
You think so?
You're just like I used to be.
Like you?
That's right. I was bearing the will and wishes of all sorts of people myself. I was carrying something very valuable. Just like you are now, Naruto.
Madara Uchiha. What he did to my dad.
If I said I had no regrets, it would be a lie. Because of the mask, our village was destroyed, and as a result, I left you all alone. But, to tell you the truth, at the time, I was completely content.
How come?
Because I'd managed to protect what was most important to me.
And what would that be?
What do you think? You, Naruto. You're my son. In this world, there is nothing more valuable to me and your mother. You're very special. And you're alive and well. You can't imagine how much joy that brings to your mother and me. Now, you've got so many people counting on you, and you're moving forward with a will of iron. And for that, I'm proud of you. But listen to me. Your fight still isn't over. I know you have many trials and tribulations ahead. As your father, it saddens me that I can't go through them at your side. But Naruto, I believe in you.
I'll never lose I'll just keep moving forward, no matter what happens. I'll never give up. I never go back on my word. That's my ninja way. After all, I am your son, right?
Right. I'm leaving the rest up to you.
Dad!
I guess it's about time. My chakra's run out.
What? You're going already?
Cheer up, son. I'll always be with you. Remember what I said. You have the will of many inside you.
Yeah.
I'll always be at your side. Always supporting you. Together, always. Naruto, you were born as my son.
The silence after the beast.
The ash of the shinobi and the genetic singularity. The end of the shinobi era did not come with a roar of defiance, nor with the triumphant clash of ideals that history books often promised. It arrived in silence. It came with the suffocating metallic taste of ozone and the smell of burning chakra. The Great Otsutsuki War, a conflict that had spanned dimensions and shattered the boundaries of reality, had finally concluded. But there were no victors standing upon the mountains of rubble. There was only the wind, howling through the hollowed-out ribcage of what used to be the Hidden Leaf Village, and the pulsating, grotesque heartbeat of the fully matured divine tree, the Shinju, which now pierced the sky like a spear thrown by a hateful god. The resistance had been valiant, yet ultimately futile against the High Council of the Otsutsuki. Sasuke Uchiha, the Shadow Hokage, had fallen 3 days prior. His Susanoo, once an impenetrable avatar of destruction, had been shattered like brittle glass under the gravity of a star, his Rinnegan plucked from his skull as a trophy for the invaders. Boruto, the vessel of Momoshiki and the last hope of the new generation, had vanished into the dimensional rift, sacrificing his physical form to seal away the bulk of the enemy armada, leaving behind only dust and the echo of a promise he couldn't keep. That left only one, the 7th Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto had been the final variable. Battered, bloodied, and stripped of his allies, he was not killed. Death would have been a mercy the Otsutsuki were unwilling to grant. Instead, they recognized the anomaly of his existence. A mortal body holding the chakra of all 9-tailed beasts and the residual grace of the Sage of Six Paths. He was not a warrior to be defeated. He was a battery to be harvested. The roots of the divine tree had surged from the earth thick as skyscrapers, wrapping around his limbs, piercing his flesh, and dragging him into the chaotic, bioluminescent womb of the planet-eating plant. As the bark closed over his face, shutting out the ruined sun, the world went dark. The age of ninja was over. The age of gods had begun. Inside the tree, time lost its meaning. It was a void of sensory deprivation, a suspension within a sea of liquid chakra. For the first decade, Naruto screamed, not with his mouth, for his lungs were filled with the tree's sap, but with his soul. He felt the Shinju digesting him, stripping away layers of his humanity, trying to dissolve the bond between him and Kurama. The pain was absolute, a cellular deconstruction that occurred every second of every day. The Otsutsuki king, ruling from his floating fortress above the clouds, watched the tree bloom, waiting for the chakra fruit to ripen. He believed the Uzumaki was fading, becoming nothing more than nutrients for their ascension. But the Otsutsuki, in their arrogance, had made a miscalculation. They assumed Naruto was merely a vessel. They forgot that he was a survivor who had mastered the art of symbiosis. Deep within the metaphysical darkness of the tree's core, A shift occurred around the 30th year of his imprisonment. Naruto stopped fighting the absorption and began to reverse it. Utilizing the principles of Sage Mode, the ability to become one with nature, he began to treat the Divine Tree not as a prison, but as an extension of his own body. If the tree wanted his chakra, he would give it. He poured his energy into the roots, but he laced it with his will. He infected the Shinju's biological network with his own consciousness. Slowly, agonizingly, the predator became the prey. Naruto's DNA began to mutate. The tree was a repository of genetic history, containing the data of thousands of worlds the Otsutsuki had devoured over millennia. Naruto accessed this library. His body, suspended in the sap, began to evolve. His tan skin bleached into a translucent, celestial white, harder than diamond yet fluid like water. His chakra pathways burned away and were rebuilt into cosmic conduits capable of processing the energy of a star. He absorbed the memories of dead civilizations, the techniques of forgotten gods, and the raw genetic code of the Otsutsuki themselves. He was no longer just a Jinchuriki of the fox. He was becoming the Jinchuriki of the universe. 50 years passed in the waking world. The earth was a wasteland, terraformed into a garden for the gods. The humans who remained were enslaved, unaware that their savior was festering beneath the bark of the Titan, looming over them. Then the heartbeat changed. It started as a low tremor that vibrated through the tectonic plates of the entire continent. The Otsutsuki guards, stationed at the base of the tree, looked up in confusion. The Shinju was supposed to be dormant until the harvest. Suddenly, the massive flower bud at the top of the tree, which had remained closed for half a century, began to wither. It wasn't blooming, it was dying. The energy was being sucked downward, back into the trunk, into the cocoon where the 7th Hokage slept. The atmosphere grew heavy, crushing the gravity around the tree. The sky turned a violent shade of violet. The bark of the divine tree, thick enough to withstand meteors, began to crack. Beams of golden light shot out from the fissures, vaporizing the surrounding rock. A sound erupted, not a scream, but a roar that sounded like a mix between a tailed beast bomb and a prayer. With a catastrophic explosion that leveled the surrounding mountain range, the trunk of the divine tree shattered. Splinters the size of cities rained down. From the blinding dust and golden vapor, a silhouette floated forward. He wore the tattered, fossilized remains of the Hokage cloak, now fused with his own flesh. His hair flowed long and wild, shimmering like starlight. The Otsutsuki commander descended, ready to strike down this anomaly, but he froze. The figure raised his head. Naruto Uzumaki opened his eyes, and for the first time in history, the gods felt fear. In his right eye, the Rinne Sharingan spun with a crimson, hypnotic malice, warping the reality around him. In his left, the Tenseigan glowed with a cold blue celestial fire, commanding the attractive and repulsive forces of the moon. But as he blinked, the secondary eyelids opened. Beneath the surface, the Jugen flickered, seeing the fate of every soul present, and a fourth eye, a completely new golden Rinnegan, manifested on his forehead, signifying his dominion over the Shinju itself. The silence that followed was heavier than the war itself. Naruto took a single breath, inhaling the chakra of the atmosphere, and whispered a single word that echoed in the minds of every living being on the planet. Found you. The symphony of four eyes and the broken sky. The dust from the divine tree's destruction did not settle. It hung in the air, frozen in place by the sheer density of the chakra radiating from the man floating above the crater. The Otsutsuki army, a legion of white-clad warriors who had conquered galaxies, stood paralyzed. They were creatures of logic and arrogance, accustomed to being the apex predators of the universe. Yet, staring at the entity that was once Naruto Uzumaki, their collective consciousness felt a primal emotion they had deemed beneath them: terror. Naruto didn't simply float. He occupied space as if the universe had rearranged itself to accommodate him. The golden Rinnegan on his forehead pulsed with a rhythmic light, acting as a third lung, inhaling the corrupted nature energy of the planet and purifying it instantly. The High Commander of the Otsutsuki, a towering figure named Shibai, an avatar of the original god, descended from his flagship. His voice boomed like thunder, trying to assert dominance over the situation. Mortal, you dare consume the sacred harvest? You are a malfunction, a parasite. I will rip that chakra from your corpse. Naruto tilted his head slowly, the movement leaving an afterimage of stardust. He didn't scream. He didn't rage. He spoke with the terrifying calmness of a calm ocean before a tsunami. "Mortal," Naruto asked, his voice echoing not just in the air but directly inside the minds of every soldier present. "I remember being mortal. I remember bleeding. I remember failing." He looked down at his hands, watching the celestial white skin shimmer. "But you took everything that made me human. You burned my home, you killed my brother, you erased my son." Naruto looked up, and the Rina Sharingan in his right eye spun violently. "So I decided to become the nightmare you fear the most." Shibai snarled and signaled the attack. "Kill him, erase his existence." 10,000 Otsutsuki soldiers launched simultaneously. The sky turned black with energy beams, chakra rods, and dimensional rifts. It was enough firepower to vaporize a solar system. Naruto didn't dodge. He didn't even raise his hand. He merely widened his left eye. The Tenseigan. Bansho Tenin, Celestial Halt. Instantly, the laws of physics shattered. The thousands of energy blasts froze in midair. The soldiers stopped in their tracks, locked in a stasis field of infinite gravity. With a subtle twitch of his pupil, Naruto reversed the vector. The attacks didn't just dissipate. They were hurled back at the army with multiplied force. A wave of destruction swept through the sky, incinerating the vanguard in a flash of blinding blue light. Shibai, shielding himself from the blast, looked on in horror. Impossible. That eye. The Tenseigan shouldn't exist on this plane. Before he could react, Naruto vanished. There was no sound of movement, no displacement of air. The Jugen in his hidden eye had allowed him to slip through the cracks of time itself. He reappeared directly behind the High Commander. "You look at time as a straight line," Naruto whispered into the god's ear. "My eye sees the ripples. I saw your death 10 minutes ago." Shibai spun around, lashing out with a rod of black truth-seeking matter. It struck Naruto's chest and shattered. Naruto's skin, fortified by the Shinju's evolutionary history, was harder than the truth-seeking orbs. The golden Rinnegan on Naruto's forehead flashed. Shinju Art Absorb. Shibai screamed as his own chakra was violently ripped from his pores. It wasn't a technique, it was a feeding. Naruto wasn't fighting, he was reclaiming. "This energy, it belongs to the worlds you stole," Naruto stated cold-bloodedly. The battle escalated into a spectacle of cosmic horror. Naruto began to utilize the four eyes in concert. The Rina Sharingan warped reality, turning the Otsutsuki's own floating fortresses into origami dragons that devoured their crews. The Tenseigan pulled meteors from the asteroid belt, raining them down with pinpoint precision. The Jugen allowed Naruto to phase through attacks, turning him intangible like a ghost, appearing only to deliver fatal strikes. It was a massacre. The god of shinobi was painting the ruined canvas of the sky with the blood of the usurpers. But beneath the display of omnipotence, a single tear, a remnant of the old Naruto, rolled down his cheek, evaporating before it hit the ground. He was winning, but the loneliness of his power was a burden heavier than the gravity he commanded. "Is this the power you coveted?" Naruto roared, slamming Shibai into the scorched earth, creating a canyon. "Is this emptiness what you call divinity?" He raised his hand and the particles of the atmosphere began to gather. He wasn't forming a Rasengan. He was compressing the electromagnetic field of the planet into a single point. A swirling sphere of black and gold energy formed, a planetary-tailed beast bomb. "Let me show you," Naruto said, his four eyes glowing in unison. "The resolve of a shinobi." Aqui está a parte 3, final da história. Esta conclusão foca na escala divina dos poderes de Naruto, não apenas para destruir, mas para criar, fechando o arco de Nova Esperança. Logo após o texto, você encontrará os 60 prompts sequenciais que cobrem toda a história, partes 1, 2 e 3, prontos para serem usados no Nano Banana. Parte 3. The Genesis of the New World and the Eternal Watcher. The planetary-tailed beast bomb did not explode in the traditional sense. It bloomed. When Naruto released the condensed sphere of black and gold energy, it didn't just burn Shibai and his army. It deconstructed them. The blast wave was a silent ripple of rewriting reality. The Otsutsuki, beings who claimed to be immortal, watched in horror as their bodies turned into white ash, their chakra stripped from them and pulled back into the golden Rinnegan on Naruto's forehead. The sky cleared for the first time in 50 years, the dark clouds of the invasion burned away by the brilliance of Naruto's judgment. Shibai's avatar, reduced to a crawling torso, looked up at the floating deity. You cannot kill a concept. We will return. Naruto landed softly on the scorched earth, the dust avoiding his feet. The four eyes dimmed slightly, returning to a calm, observant state. You won't return, Naruto said, his voice carrying the weight of the earth itself. Because I am closing the door. With a weave of hand signs that moved faster than light, utilizing the Jugen's insight into dimension, Naruto sealed the space-time coordinates of Earth. He'd locked the planet away from the Otsutsuki network forever. The invaders were gone. The war was won, but the victory rang hollow. Naruto stood alone in a graveyard the size of a planet. The wind howled through the ruins of Konoha, carrying the dust of his friends, his family, his dream. What is a Hokage? Naruto whispered to the silence, tears finally streaming freely from his four eyes. If there is no one left to protect? He fell to his knees, punching the ground. The impact shook the tectonic plates. Kurama's voice echoed in his mind, ancient and somber. Naruto, you have the chakra of the divine tree. You have the eyes of creation and destruction. You don't have to accept this reality. Naruto looked up. The Rinne Sharingan in his right eye began to spin, not with malice, but with a desperate, burning hope. The golden Rinnegan on his forehead opened wide, releasing all the energy he had absorbed from the Otsutsuki army and the divine tree itself. Creation of all things. Supreme rebirth. It wasn't a technique. It was a miracle. A wave of emerald and gold light exploded from Naruto's body, sweeping across the globe. It moved over the scorched forests, and trees erupted from the ash instantly, blooming with flowers. It moved over the dried oceans, and water rushed back in, crystal clear. It moved over the ruins of the villages. And then, the souls answered. Naruto screamed in agony as he acted as the bridge between the Pure Land and the living world. The chakra cost was fatal, but his immortal body refused to die. He saw the stone rubble of Konoha reassemble itself. He saw the gates rise, and from the golden mist, figures began to materialize. Sasuke looking confused, clutching a sword that wasn't there a moment ago. Boruto falling out of a rift, alive and whole. Sarada, Mitsuki, Hinata. Millions of lives stitched back together by the will of one man. The light faded. The world was whole again. The sun rose over a restored Konoha. Sasuke was the first to run toward the center of the crater, where the energy had come from. Naruto! He yelled, panic in his voice. But when they arrived, Naruto wasn't there. In the center of the restored village, hovering silently above the Hokage rock, was a figure. Naruto sat in a meditative lotus position, his skin permanently pearlescent white, his four eyes closed. He had expelled so much life force that he had transcended his physical form. He was no longer just a Hokage walking among his people. He had become the planet's living avatar. He opened his eyes one last time, looking down at his friends, at his son, at the village bustling with confused but living people. A gentle smile crossed his face. He didn't speak, but his voice resonated in their hearts. I am here, always watching. The age of shinobi is over. The age of peace has begun. The guardian closed his eyes, floating eternally above the village, a god who chose to serve rather than rule. The nightmare was over. The dream of the seventh had finally come true.